Pledge of Allegiance. May I have a roll call?
Crenshaw, Walker,
Here.
Garcia, Cackley,
Here.
Dade,
Here.
Andrews,
Here.
Tillman,
Here.
Bryant,
Here.
Greenwald,
Here.
all present.
Item number 4, Mayor's Correspondence. Friday, July 19th, 2024, Crazy Days continues on Keokuk's Main Street. Most places are open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Lots of bargains and inside and out. Enjoy shopping locally and enjoy this great weather. City yard sales are up and rolling. Stop in the businesses and get a map to find your stops. There's always something you can find, even if you don't need it. Item number 3, Young Chefs at the Public Library at 11 a.m. and it's for ages 8 to 18. And Hidden Towers presents comedian Brent Turhan at 7 p.m. Tickets are $25. Saturday, July 20th, Crazy Days and citywide yard sales continue. Keokuk's Farmers Market at the River City Mall from 8 a.m. to 11:30. Back to the Public Library for a puzzle marathon at 11 a.m. Jab Will is performing a free concert at Rampart Pavilion. Bring your lawn chairs. There will be food for purchase, and it is a BYOB. Trivia at Chintz's at 1310 Main Street at 7 p.m., and Black Cells is having bands and food starting at 9 p.m. Sunday, July 21st, Southside Boat Club is having their 12th annual Fish Fry fundraiser starting at noon. They will have a live auction and music by Stumptown at 3:30 p.m. Fun, food, games, and music for everyone. Then on Friday, August 2nd, back to school festival at Trinity United Methodist Church beginning at 4 p.m. This is being sponsored by Trinity United Methodist Church, the United Way of Great River Region, and the Salvation Army. They need volunteers for all events, the day of the event, and for packing the school supplies on July 30th and 31st. The number to call there is 319-524-5404 to see how you can help. And last and certainly not least, always shop, eat, and drink local. Enjoy all Keokuk has to offer for you, and remember, kindness matters. Item number 5 is citizens' request. If we have someone that would like to come forward, you can come to the podium. You have about 5 minutes apiece. And please come, state your name and your address. Nobody? Okay. Item number 6, consent agenda. Minutes of the regular city council meeting and workshop of July 2nd, 2024. Cash receipts and treasurer's report for June 2024. Resolution approving a liquor license for Hy-Vee Incorporated Special Class C Retail Alcohol License 5-day term effective July 25th through the 29th, 2024 for Radio Keokuk Rock on the River Festival, Saturday, July 27th, 2024 at Victory Park. Resolution approving a liquor license for Arrowhead Bowl, 3535 Main Street, Class C Retail Alcohol License effective August 1st, 2024. Special event permit for the United Way of Great River Region 20th Annual Back to School Festival, Friday, August 2nd, 2024 from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Trinity United Methodist Church, 2320 Plank Road. Special event permit for Faith Johnson's Summer's Last Blast Vendor Blender, Saturday, August 10th, 2024 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Kilbourne Park. Sidewalk display permit for the watering can floral and gifts, 607 Main. Resignation of Monica Winkler from the Keokuk Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, effective immediately. Motion to pay the bills and transfers listed in registers number 5416 and 5418. I need a motion to approve the agenda, including the consent agenda.
So move. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 7. Now is the time and place for the public hearing on the permanent encroachment permit for Keokuk Auto Credit, 1728 Main Street. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Gate City on July 11th, 2024. I am opening the public hearing at 5:35 p.m. Kenny Hempen, 28 Main Street, has requested a permanent encroachment for light poles fixtures owned by the property owner to remain where located within the right-of-way of South 18th Street. After reviewing reconstruction plans for South 18th Street, staff recommends that the light poles/fixtures be relocated approximately 10 feet back. This would be behind the new sidewalk and still within the city right-of-way, or be located to the owner's property. The reasoning for this determination is if the light poles/fixtures remain at their existing location, they will be in the new sidewalk. The street paver needs additional room, and it will help with snow plowing. Hold a public hearing, recommend not allowing poles and fixtures to remain where located, but allow that to be relocated in the right-of-way per Public Works direction. Do I have any more discussion? City Clerk, do we have any written comments or objections that we've received? There being no further comments or objections on the matter, I will close the public hearing at 5:36 p.m. 7B, consider resolution granting a permanent encroachment as amended for 2 privately owned light poles/fixtures at 1728 Main Street. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
The as amended, is that taking into the Public Works discretion on moving them the 10-foot?
Will this be at the property owner's expense or at the city's expense?
Property owner's expense.
Any more discussion? I need a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 8, motion to approve initial reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 5.20.020, setting sanitation fees effective September 1st, 2024 through the fiscal year 2028/2029. I need a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll need a roll call.
Crenshaw,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Garcia, Cackley,
Aye.
Dade, Andrews,
Aye.
Tillman,
Aye.
Bryant,
Aye.
Greenwald,
Aye.
Any motion, I need a motion to waive the second and third reading of this ordinance.
So moved.
Any discussion?
Could we at least read out loud what it is?
Sure. The ordinance sets fees starting September 1st, 2024 through fiscal year 28-29. In June of this year, the city received correspondence from Moody's Rating Analytical in reference to the terms of the bond issued in 2020 for new garbage trucks not being met by the sanitation rates set forth in the current ordinance. Moody's indicated that they would most likely lower the city's rating since the coverage requirement is a contractual obligation. Also, the tipping fees have continued to increase, and the current rates will keep a negative balance in the sanitation fund. Tim Oswell of Piper Sandler validated the information and determined the following fees to be adequate. September 1st, 2024, $27 per month. July 1st, 2025, $28 per month. July 1st, 2026, $29 per month. July 1st, 2027, $30 per month. And July 1st, 2028, $31 per month. Staff recommends approval.
Do we need to waive the second and third readings in order to make the deadline of September 1st?
No.
Well, with that being said, then I would not be in favor of waiving the second and third readings, just to give everybody at least an opportunity to voice their opinions to us about this.
What other option do we have?
Anybody? With that being said, we'll need a roll call.
Crenshaw,
Is this to waive the second and third reading?
Yes.
Then no, I agree with Mike.
Walker,
I would be in favor of waiving the second and third reading.
Garcia,
No.
Ackley,
No.
Dade, Andrews. Yes. Tillman,
No.
Bryant,
Yes.
Greenwald,
No.
3-6.
Motion does not pass. Item number 9, consider resolution allowing the mayor to sign a lease agreement with Freeze Dried USA. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question about the space that will be available. It doesn't look like it included the backspace where the walk-in freezer is. Is that included in their lease space at this point, or is that?
That is technically a common area, with the exception if he uses the freezer. And the
Right.
reason being is it's got that, we put the overhead door in with the alley access for deliveries.
Right.
So technically, any leasing in the building can use that for shipping and receiving.
I see.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 10, consider resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a preservation easement for the Keokuk Union Depot. I need a motion to approve.
Second.
Authorize the mayor to sign a preservation easement between the city of Keokuk and the Keokuk Union Depot and the Iowa State Historic Preservation Office. Staff recommends approval. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 11, consider resolution awarding contract for construction administration to Shoemaker and Holland for the 18th Street reconstruction project. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Shoemaker and Holland provided the attached proposal for construction observation and administration for the South 18th reconstruction project at the request of the city. The scope and fee is based on discussions regarding the roles provided by the city personnel and what roles the city is requesting be provided by Shoemaker and Holland. City of Keokuk personnel will provide concrete testing services and much of the ongoing observation for the project. The city has requested that Shoemaker and Holland have staff available to perform field visits, construction observation, reviews of pay applications, change orders, amendments, testing reports, and shop drawings. Shoemaker and Holland will be available to participate in every other week project progress meetings through the construction period. Construction of the project has already begun and will conclude in the summer of 2025. Staff recommends approval. Do we have any more discussion?
Why is this just now starting?
Because they just now got me the contract.
The kind of shortfall on their part?
Well, in the beginning of all, so this service is laid out in our HUD agreement with the $960,000 we received. There was an error in the calculations when that was submitted to HUD back in last summer sometime, to the tune of about $400,000. So we had to revise our table of values to HUD. And we lowered that amount to the $85,000 that this contract is. the initial contract from Shoemaker and Holland included a lot more than what we would require. And so they just now, last week, got me the revised contract with the revised dollar amount.
Okay, so they've already been doing it though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a concern regarding the itemized fees, saying that on an as-needed basis, an average of 5 hours per week will be spent.
Uh-huh.
And given that there's maybe 13 months left in the project, that breaks down to 52 weeks, 260 hours, divided into 47, 625 comes out at $183 an hour. And I don't see any guarantee that they will be there for that amount of time. But if they're, maybe 1 week, 2, maybe the next week, 7, however, it kind of ebbs and flows.
Right.
But that still comes down to a considerable amount hourly.
So their contract is not to exceed the 85,000 regardless of their,
Would there be any way that they would maybe consider a retainer? So if we pay them a retaining fee and we don't actually need their services, we don't actually pay for it.
that's not very typical in this instance.
Just curious.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Item number 12, consider resolution authorizing the engagement of Allers and Clooney PC to provide legal services in regard to providing the title option for Carbide First Edition plat. I need a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Second.
The city of Keokuk is required to subdivide 365 Carbide into separate parcels in order to be in compliance with awarded brownfield grants and to continue applying for these grants. There are several items that need to be completed prior to recording the documents, mainly a title option for the plat. Because Allers Cooney were involved with the condemnation and are familiar with the property, I reached out to see if they could take care of this for the city. Allers Clooney sent a scope of engagement to be approved prior to beginning. They will need to update the abstract prior to doing the title option. Fees are $275 an hour. They stated that it was difficult to estimate the total number of hours that would take. It appears that the last time there was work on this abstract was March 2020. Authorize the mayor to assign the agreement.
This is coming from the first grant, right?
This is correct.
Yes.
And we have at least 2 more subdivisions will need to be done in order to comply with, the second one we've already been awarded that, almost 5 million. And then there'll at least be 1 more after that.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 13, I need a motion to approve a special event permit for Radio Keokuk Rock on the River Festival, Friday, July 26th through Sunday, July 28th, to allow setup and teardown. Event being held Sunday, July 27th, 2024, music 5 to 11 p.m. at Victory Park.
Second.
Any discussion? All those
I will be abstaining from voting on this.
in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 14, motion to approve a special event permit for John Morris firework display at 1025 Cleveland Avenue, Saturday, August 10th, 2024, from 5 to 10:30 p.m.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 15, council liaison reports.
We had the Oakland Cemetery 5K Saturday, and it went really well. I think we had a good turnout despite the heat, so that was nice. This isn't really a liaison part, but the mini pitch by Kick It Forward, I had a meeting with them Monday. And they are super interested in our old skating rink. And so they are going to be sending us a contract that council will be able to look over to hopefully move forward with the mini pitch system.
Anybody else? Item number 16, staff reports.
Chief Baum, you can go first.
Officer Ivan Parrish, as of this Saturday, will be officially retired after 33 years with the city and our department.
Pam?
I'm just going to give you a little update on a couple things. Tarla and Adam Price with ATTTH did receive their Community Catalyst and Building Remediation Grant for $100,000 that the city supported. So that is great news. 619, 625 Main, that project, as you all can see when you're driving down Main Street, is absolutely amazing. They have pretty much all the demolition done that they're doing. They've built some walls. The facade on the side there, they took that down. I don't think that they were expecting to do that wall, but it was the soft brick. So they ended up taking that wall down, and they're going to reconstruct that. Main Street and is working with an artist to put a mural on that side of the building. So that'll come to the city here one of these days just for some discussion. There's going to be 14 apartments, 3 commercial spaces. There's going to be no apartments on the storefront side of Main like they were wanting to do. That was against the grant requirements. So they're pretty much, the fire department, myself and the state inspector has been through to do inspections, and they're ready to start putting drywall up.
Pam, the first one, you said 100,000, is that the house on South 7th?
I'm sorry?
The house on South 7th, the first one you mentioned,
It's Tarla and Adam Price is who he's talking about.
Oh, that was 1,000 Main.
Oh, okay.
That they got a Community Catalyst grant. And mainly that building, they have renovated the downstairs. They're going to, the grant is going to help them tuck point and do 2 to 3, I think probably 2 apartments upstairs is what they are going to
10th and
plan
Main.
on doing. I'm sorry?
10th and Main.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And then you guys will be seeing, the city owns 2 buildings on South 12th Street, 26 and 30. Those were not really sold, but there was a development agreement with Carl Morgan at one point. He was going to do some work. He never did do that. The city got the properties back. Casey and I went in just to check them out. The floor joists were pretty much gone. We had an engineer come in and take a look at them. He said they really probably weren't salvageable, so we're going to take those down. There is a backhoe there now, so they should be coming down before they fall down. So.
Anybody else? Item number 17, new business. Item number 18, I need a motion to approve to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned. We'll take a 5-minute break and come back for the workshop. See, that's what I get for being fair.
I know. That's how it always goes.
And all that worry.
Just so you know, I've 3 readings.
Did you understand the addresses on those two properties that she said Morgan had? Yeah. No, she just, I don't think anybody asked any questions. I wrote down 26 and 30, but I didn't know whether it was North 12th or South 12th.
Do you know which two buildings they are?
Oh,
They're the brick buildings that kind of sit next to the parking lot of the Goodwill, across the street from kind of catty corner from the police department. And they're two-story brick buildings with pink trim that used to be a pawn shop. And
What,
pawn shop and a tattoo. Yes. So both of those buildings are connected by one wall and they're both enclosed.
so that would be South.
Yes.
I got 12th Street.
South 12th and Johnson Street, I believe. Yeah.
Whole neighborhood.
There's a CCS parked in a back row behind those buildings this week.
I'm gonna have to take some more pictures of that house next to Marty. It's awful.
Oh yeah, the one that Gary owns.
I don't know who.
Gary Davis owns that house. And the latest
Somebody
on
from out of town.
he lives in Washington. And the latest update that I have on it is that
As Marty said, the permit is expired now. And I don't think they've mown it once.
the permit is 261 days out from obtaining the permit. No payment or fees have been paid. In August 2024, there is no occupancy. We returned to court for violating the ordinance this fall. I'm going to ask Jim Dennis if we can ask for a higher penalty and review placing payments on a schedule. Looking to other collection options allowed in Iowa. The property is being mowed by Mike Woodworth. Oh, we can tell Casey. I'll just email her. Because I last talked to Casey on June 5th. We're talking about the Franklin house next to Marty, that it hasn't been mowed in a while. Get back to babysitting him. Actually, I'll message him now. Do you know when the court date is this month? I can call him. Okay. Okay, they're like literally right now. There's a lot. Sounds good. Yeah, but they did want it at least 700. I don't know if it's yet. It's still there. The shingles over there on North First, they're still there. Yeah, so all the fences. Not. What about the permit that is on 628 Franklin, the construction permit in the window? Because it's void, right? I think anything beyond 120 days. And just, you know, keep me updated. I'll message you. I have no idea. I need to write down
I'd like to call to order the Keokuk City Council Workshop, July 18th, 2024. And we have one item on the agenda is discussion about KEDC joining with Lee County Economic Development Group. I see that we have some well-informed visitors with us. And if you want to take your turn, come to the podium and let us know what we need to know and state your name and your address.
Good morning, good afternoon, evening, Mayor, City Administrator, Council people, Department heads. We've been talking about economic development in Keokuk and Lee County. And a few months ago, we had a gentleman come and he was a site selector, or as he put it, a site deselector. And basically, he asked how we did things, how we were doing economic development, how, just how the county worked. And we said, well, Fort Madison has an economic development, Keokuk has an economic development, and then Lee County has an economic development. And he looked at me and he said, why? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you need one point person that takes care of things. He said, I'm not saying you can't have groups that oversight, but you need one person to be the economic head that people or industries can go to, contact, and see what opportunities are in Lee County. And so that spurred a little bit of conversation between Fort Madison and Lee County Economic Development. And Mike Hickey's been involved in that, so that's why he's my wingman here. But when I called Mike about it, Mike said, it's about time. And I think the same way. It's about time that we had one. I'm going to be honest with you. I sell insurance. You guys know, almost everybody in here knows what I do. I sell insurance. I don't do economic development. I am the president of Keokuk Economic Development Corporation, but when it comes down to my day job, I'm not out trying to get industry and businesses to move to Keokuk. So we need somebody who's going to be active in doing that, a one-stop shop, so to speak. And what we are recommending is that Fort Madison Economic Development, Keokuk Economic Development merges basically with Lee County Economic Development as one. Fort Madison is going to basically go dormant. Keokuk Economic Development has a little loan that we need to pay back. So we're going to meet quarterly is what we're proposing. And we are going to make sure that everything's going well in the Southeast Iowa Development Center. And we're going to oversee and make sure that what's going on in the county is up to what we think it should be. We're going to hold Dennis for a few more months to the feet to the fire, but after that, Emily. And I think it's going to be a better way to do the things that we've been doing right now. If we keep doing what we're doing, as the old adage goes, if you keep doing the same thing and expect different results, you're silly. So what I'm proposing is that we do things a little different than what we've been doing them. Hopefully we can get a better result. And I think it's going to be better for Keokuk and the county. So what I'm asking is your opinion. Without your blessing, it can't work, in my opinion. Do I have to have your blessing? No. But I'm not going to do it without the council saying we're on board with that. So with that, I'll open it up to questions for any of us or myself.
Carrie, what are the plans then for the resources that KEDC currently has? Well, you mentioned that, you do have that loan that you have to pay back and the oversight of the Southeast Iowa Development Center. So is that going to remain with KEDC, or will that be part of what folds into Lee County Economic Development Group, and then those responsibilities are kind of shared across?
So we have a little bit of farm ground that we get a small amount of money from. We're going to continue to have that arrangement. We're going to continue to get the rent money, but we are going to continue to oversee the Southeast Iowa Development Center. I think it's our baby. We're the ones that are on the hook for the loan, and I'm not going to trust somebody else to oversee that. But Lee County Economic Development would be the point person to generate new rent, new tenants, and really promote that beyond what we've done.
So the existing obligations, nothing would change in that regard. And then when those obligations no longer exist, then would KEDC's plan be to dissolve at that point?
Man, Michael, I don't know. I mean, I would almost say no. I mean, I think that there's always going to be a reason to have a Keokuk Economic Development Board in place, just that's going to oversee kind of what Lee County's doing. And I guess I haven't thought that far in the future, but I would, initially, I would say probably the KDC is going to be around for the foreseeable future.
So then with the merging, and maybe this question is more for Emily or Dennis, but with the proposed merger, then are the board members of KEDC going to become board members on LCEDG? And then is that how we're still going to kind of have a say in the whole program?
No, Lee County Economic Development would retain their current board members. As we can, we would get more Keokuk representatives on that. We've already put Dave Bogner on, of course, with the Waterworks. I'm on the executive board now, or a committee, so I will be president. That's in the next 2 years. And there's already quite a bit of representation from Keokuk. And it's maybe a little bit lopsided right now, but if you look at the people, there are people who do business in Keokuk. I mean, prime example is Mike Morfeld, who's doing the 600 block, and he's putting a ton of his money on the line. Granted, there's going to be hopefully a reward for Mike at the end, but I mean, yeah, he's from Fort Madison, but what a project he's doing. And every time I go by that, I'm just amazed at the work that his crew's doing on those buildings.
So if people and resources are staying with KDC, what exactly is merging into Lee County Economic Development Group? Is it just that if a business or a potential industry were to reach out to you, you would just forward them to Lee County then to take care of that?
If they would reach out to me, yes, but they would be the initial point person. There would be a Lee County Economic Development employee that is in Keokuk. They would also have one in Fort Madison. They would not have the same skill sets because we think having two people with a little different skills. So for example, one person may be a little more versed in housing. Another person maybe is a little bit better at workforce development. But those two employees would collaborate, but we would have a presence of Lee County Economic Group. We would have an employee in Keokuk.
I am also confused about the board members. I think that Fort Madison has almost half of the board. So how would we obtain more Keokuk or just South Lee representation?
So if you look at the members and where they work or where they live, yes, there are a lot of board members who maybe live in Fort Madison, but they have businesses in Keokuk and Lee County in general. So, I mean, Jenny Rose is on, but we've got representatives from most of the industry. Dennis, can you?
Yeah, Corey Jonas from Griffin Wheel, Dave Blocker, we have Gary. I have a list of the board members if you'd like, if you don't have a list.
I have one.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, even one of the supervisors is on there, but his technical employer is in Mount Pleasant. I mean, unless he's just being a liaison for that board.
He is the liaison for the supervisors.
Okay.
Board supervisors, I'm sorry, appoint
Nope.
two liaisons to our board.
So we've got Gary
Yeah,
and
Tom.
Tom, yeah. Any other questions?
So the list that we were given, that's going to be the list of the Lee County Board?
Yes.
Okay, so then I agree, I'm confused because Keokuk only has 23%. So I don't,
Well, you're looking at where they live though, right?
yeah, where they work, there's only 5 people who work in Keokuk.
But
10 work in Fort Madison, 6 work in Burlington.
And 4 live in Keokuk.
But there are citizens from Keokuk who work in all of those organizations and at all of those businesses. So yes, the representatives that are on Lee County Economic Development's board may not live here, but they employ people who live here.
If someone wants to be on the board, how do they do that?
They're appointed by, basically what they do is they take the people who they think are going to be really good board members and they try and get them on the board.
Do they have terms?
Yeah.
What are they?
It's 2-3-year terms. Sure. Yeah, Dennis is a little more versed in this.
Yeah, thank you for seeing us. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can talk intelligently. So a couple things happened 10 years ago when we did our first capital campaign. One of the recommendations was that we add the sitting presidents of FMEDC and KDC to our board, which we did, and we think that was a great thing. Now Carrie represents that person. So the idea was that those two people would be the lead person for each of those communities. But they would be the person kind of overseeing, like, hey, you're the stalwart from Keokuk, you're the stalwart from Fort Madison. So everyone else that we add to the board, we really look at sectors. You know, when we look at manufacturers, whether it's Jenny from Roquette or Corey from Griffin Wheel, we have Brian Langerud from ConAgra, we have Iowa Fertilizer, we have Climax. So we really look at those as major employers, as they would tell you their employees come from all over the region, not just Lee County. So, we added Pat McCrabb from JJ Nickting because he represents ag, and so he's in Pilot Grove. And so we don't get, sometimes it swings one way or another where, it depends on how you want to slice this. Is it where somebody lives? Is it where their business is? If Jason Hutchison lives in Burlington, but the medical center has a facility in Burlington, Fort Madison, and Keokuk. Connection Bank has a facility in Burlington, Fort Madison, and Keokuk. So a lot of these people do business throughout the region and have multiple entities. So, again, and we're always looking for great board members. So we're not opposed to, realignment, but we do try to, we have a great board, I'll just tell you that. Nobody spends more time worrying about the makeup of our board than me, trying to make sure we have the right balance of people, the right sectors. We have great representation from Keokuk. Again, a lot of these people, I will tell you that we don't have Keokuk projects and we don't have Fort Madison projects or Pilot Grove projects. When a project comes in, especially if it's an attraction project, it's a spreadsheet. There's no room for opinion on there. It's like, do you have natural gas? Do you have water? Do you have sewer? And that's what we fill out. And so we look at what site has those attributes, wherever it is in the county or the region, frankly. And so we do take a lot of pride in our board. I think we do have the best board in Southeast Iowa. Just added Dave Bogner from the Waterworks, again, to pick up the utility side of that. So, it just depends on, is it where you live? Is it where you work? Is it where you have business? Scott Smith lives in Burlington. Frank Miller, the company, has an office here. They do business all over. Derek Calkins is from SCC. Of course, they have a facility here. So it really becomes, it's a little bit of a challenge trying to say, well, we need X number of people from Keokuk, X number of people, like who's from West Point, who's from Pilot Grove, who's from Denmark, who's from, so it gets to be a challenge. We have a dynamic board, a great board. We think organization's very dynamic. So and then we have ex officios like Heather from the Conservation Office serves on our board. The 2 supervisors are ex officios, meaning non-voting. As they like to say, like you guys, we vote every time we renew your funding every year. So we have them along with representatives from Liberty Utilities and Alliant Utilities as well. So it's a mix. I will not tell you that it's always perfect. I can tell you that previously, I've been here 11 years. For almost a decade, the board chair was from Keokuk. The board vice chair was from Keokuk. Our offices were in Keokuk for over 6 years. And so no matter how we do this, there's always going to be, you can make the argument that, well, are you favoring this community, that community? I can tell you that we really do put on blinders. You know, we're here for Lee County. We always tell people that we wake up every morning and say, what's the best thing we can do for Lee County? And that's really always been our mantra. And so, you know, whether it's working with the LCAM site, which we think has the potential to be a great site for Keokuk, whether, as you guys know, with the amount of funding it takes to clean that up. And then certainly Kindustry Park is a good asset as well. So a lot of good things. We also know that a couple of major industries, as you know, Allied Blending is going to have a ribbon cutting here shortly. We also know that Roquette has big plans. And so if you look down the road, there's a lot of opportunity in Keokuk, just as there is in Fort Madison and regionally. So I'll stop rambling. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
I'm also confused because you mentioned in the beginning that you were gonna have like one person that's dedicated to the economic development full-time because you have a day job and ideally this other person would just focus on it entirely. But then later on, you mentioned that there was gonna be two different people with two different interests. So is it two people that are gonna be focusing on it full-time or just that one person that person told you to do?
It'd be two in addition to Emily, but there would be one here full-time. And originally, we thought, well, we'll get two very similar people for Fort Madison and Keokuk. And we got thinking, why would we do that? Because Keokuk has different needs than Fort Madison. So we would specifically hire somebody to be in Keokuk to suit the needs that Keokuk has. And that's not saying that they're not going to go and help in Fort Madison because they will. And the same thing with the Fort Madison person. They are going to be based in Fort Madison, but they would also come to Keokuk to assist with economic development in Keokuk.
So it would be like three people, like Emily and two managers.
Get out of the way
If
here.
I can share the podium with these two gentlemen.
You bet.
One of the things that makes this possible right now is that Dennis is leaving and retiring. So it allows us to take the resources that we have as Lee County and leverage them a little bit more. So instead of just myself, Dennis, and administrative assistant, we'll be able to multiply our efforts by going from being a staff of 3 to a staff of 4. And as Carrie said, we'd like to hire people with different skill sets and also recognizing the work that you guys have already done in Keokuk. You guys have done a lot of work around housing. You already have the Rural Housing Readiness Assessment. You already have K&I that's set up and ready to incentivize residential development. So we would like to hire someone to serve Keokuk who has a focus and who has experience in housing development as well as commercial development to try to fill out the SID Center. Along with being able to leverage those funds, the Keokuk person will also have responsibility for Lee County. Their primary focus will be in Keokuk, but being able to share those knowledge and that learning, that's what's going to allow us to be really successful if we're able to combine everybody.
All right, so when we were talking, Keokuk's going to keep the responsibilities for the SID Center, but there will be somebody there to work it, and that will be the Keokuk representative. I know this past year we did a contract with Keokuk, Main Street Keokuk for $25,000 a year for 2 years. Do we remain in that contract? What will happen with that?
We would exit that. There's a clause either party can, with 30 days notice, can leave that agreement. And Lee County Economic Development is going to be doing all of those administrative duties for Keokuk Economic Development. We would not need Main Street at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Could you explain, I guess, what that contract was for between Main Street and Economic Development?
Sure,
for
but
us?
basically Main Street was going to be our point person, just like Lee County Economic Development would. So are any correspondents, any people who are looking to relocate their business to Keokuk would contact Main Street. Main Street would keep track of take minutes at meetings, or at least keep the minutes and the financials and put the board packets together every month. I mean, there's some other things, but that's the basics. And I think there was some question at $6,250 per quarter, if that wasn't a lot of money to pay for basically putting board packets together and being a contact person. And my thought that at the time was that was basically a donation to Main Street to support them. But I think that this opportunity is a better opportunity for Keokuk.
So it's not, it's just taking a job off of Main Street, but also some funding. Because it didn't cost them that much to help you.
Correct.
Okay.
And I don't want to take away anything from what Main Street is doing because they're doing great things in Keokuk. And that's part of the, we've had discussions with Kira about this, and her focus has to be in the Main Street district because of the way that Main Street is set up. This would allow the Keokuk person to work really closely with Keokuk, but to also, or I'm sorry, with Main Street, but to also branch out those efforts throughout the rest of the community as well. So Keokuk Main Street is doing an amazing job. We don't want to take anything away from them. This only works if it's a net gain to everybody in the community, in our opinion, and it's our goal to make that the case.
Has Kira mentioned how this would affect her?
I don't want to speak for her. I have had conversations with her where she said, it's not ideal to lose the funding, but it doesn't also overly concern her, was the way that I understood that conversation. But I would encourage you guys to also have that conversation, because if she's counting on those funds in her budget, they'll need to be made up for. And we would hope that there's a way to make that happen.
And we wouldn't leave the agreement in 30 days. I mean, if you guys said, hey, yeah, we're good with it, it's probably going to be the end of the year next year before we would, Main Street's still going to be getting our funding for at least another quarter or two.
So when is the merge supposed to happen?
We don't know.
We're in the middle of our capital campaign right now.
Okay.
So the funds from KEDC and FMEDC alone are not enough to make it so that we can go from being a staff of 3 to a staff of 4. So we are also really dependent on having a really successful capital campaign. We'll have more information back in August, I think August 15th. So we'll be better able to project a timeline for when this could actually, when we could flip the switch, if you will.
Okay. We should probably talk to Kira.
Can you go over the funds a little bit? Because when I asked Carrie, he had said that funds weren't going to be transferring over. So could you just clarify that for us, what the future intention of the funds looks like?
Yes. So KEDC receives $60,000 a year. 50,000 of that comes from the city. 10,000 comes from the waterworks. As we've looked through numbers and what it takes to continue to service the debt on the SID Center and have a little bit of cushion, I think, that $10,000 from the waterworks would stay with KEDC, as well as the half of the rent that they're taking in from the SID Center so that they can pay down their line of credit. And then the 50,000 would go to LCEDG to fund this extra position.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So where does the one from Fort Madison come? How much comes from Fort Madison when they join the forces and goes to the Fort Madison person?
So Fort Madison, they're just set up differently. They have different funding mechanisms. So KEDC, all of their funds comes from the city and from the waterworks. FMEDC gets their money from a pool of investors. And then we get money directly from the city of Fort Madison, as opposed to in Keokuk, where the money goes from the city of Keokuk to KEDC, and then they pay us for some services. And this agreement would slide more of those funds to LCEDG. In Fort Madison, the city pays $20,000 a year. And then what we've proposed is asking the investors in FMEDC to slide their contributions previously from FMEDC over to LCEDG. So the intent is to make it as equal as possible so that those funds are being matched in both communities.
So it'll be 20,000, you'll be asking the 20,000 come from the city then? Oh,
So currently.
they're gonna, if they dissolve, their money's going to the city, then to you?
Yeah, so it's a little convoluted. So the way it works now, so the city of Fort Madison sends $20,000 directly to us. And then FMEDC gets money from both CERC, the gambling funds, which I believe in your case goes directly into your city budget, or I'm not sure where it all ends
But
up.
it will not be going forward.
It won't be.
Those CERC funds will not be coming to the city going
Okay,
forward.
yeah, so, but anyway, CERC backfills, gives some money to FMEDC as well as private investors. So the goal is that 20,000 comes to the city of Fort Madison. Obviously, there'd be 50 coming from Keokuk. Then FMEDC between CERC and their current investors would backfill that. So the idea is that each community is contributing $50,000. So that's the plan. So that it's an equal representation from both communities. Yes.
It's a little higher than that,
We'll
actually.
access that, yeah. So. And just talk a little bit about Main Street, just kind of from a practical standpoint, the work we do. About a month ago, we had a request came in looking for a Main Street location in Keokuk. And so we worked with Kira on that. That request came directly to us, not to Main Street for whatever reason. We don't control that, but we work very closely, or as I like to say, organically with all the organizations. So no matter who that request comes to, whether it comes to Main Street or to us, we always try to work collaboratively.
Are there any other projects aside from the SID Center that the KEDC is currently overseeing, looking forward to, anything on the horizon?
No, I mean, and I think I've said this before, I'd say 90% of my time working for KEDC is on the SID Center. And that is, we were requested to kind of oversee that building by the previous administrator. And, we've done as good as we could. Dennis helped and brought in a marketing person to kind of tell us what potential tenants we're looking for, because we didn't know. I mean, we just assumed somebody'd come in, look at that building at a blank space, or maybe an office with most of the ceiling panels missing and crappy floor and bad paint. And they'd go, oh, I can turn that into a great office. Well, this marketing person, again, that Dennis brought in, said, no, that doesn't work. You need to fix up an area so the people can actually see, this is what I could have. And so so that's why we've been spending KDC's hard-earned money, and we're just about spent out. But we've always had some place that somebody could go in and look and see what it could be. So KDC has put $200,000 of our money into that building to make it suitable for tenants. And we are, it gets better. It seems like every 6 months we pick up some more rental space that we have rented out. I just sat down with Rich West, who's an unbelievable, has a mind for economic things like I've never seen. And he projected out that if we could get 65% of that building full, it would make money. And it would be, he potentially valued that building for the city at just a little over $1.7 million. It's not going to happen without some work. It's not going to happen without putting some more money into it. But we have some great space right now. The space that Roquette's in on the first floor and the second floor, are amazing. Roquette is taking the space that we fixed up for freeze dried and they couldn't take. They're going to take that at least until the end of December. And that's going to get us $10,000, which isn't much, but hey, it's $5,000 for the city and $5,000 for KDC. So it's better than not getting any money out of that space. And I think you guys, Dave, you're working with getting that lease agree, and is it an amendment to the current lease or is it a separate lease?
It will be a separate lease, just have
Okay. Okay. And to be real true, I'd rather it was a second lease anyway, to be real truthful. But they're going to take it till the end of December. They have some construction going on down at Roquette. And if that's not done, so I'm hoping for something, to slow them up, then they will continue beyond December. So, we're working, but I think if we had somebody in there all the time and somebody who was really pushing that, I don't think it would be difficult to get to 65%.
Does Lee County, do you guys feel that way? I don't love the Sid Center. I think it's a money pit.
Yeah. We feel it's really important that the person who's focusing on Keokuk is also working on the Sid Center and not just tenants. That's going to be a part of it. And we
Yeah.
do think that hopefully by having someone in there that can maybe even connect them with a small business loan if that's what they need, or be a resource connector, I think that will help. I also think that a major function of this person has to be to come up with what can be an exit plan when it is time that you guys can sell the Sid Center. What's that exit plan and how do we get on a path to that, right? Because
Excellent.
Yeah.
We're trying to get out of there. But we're trying to get out of there with money to the city.
Right.
I'm a little confused. If the overall goal is to sell it, then why talk of what it could be if it's 60% filled up, and
Because
what is the plan here? If you
not
want to
worth
sell it,
anything.
put a for sale sign on it. You know what I
It's
mean?
not worth anything to a business developer if it's not bringing in money.
And also because of the way that it was funded with EDA dollars, the city can't sell it for another 10 or 12 years. So as long as we have it, let's minimize those utility costs. Let's get it in a position that when we can sell it, we can do that.
If I can go back to, it wasn't very clear how often you paid Main Street the $250. Was that every month? Was it yearly, quarterly?
$6,250, $6,250 we pay quarterly.
And that agreement began in April-ish?
February.
How much was that?
$6,250 a quarter.
A quarter, okay.
So $25,000 a year.
So Main Street will not be making $25,000 a year after the contract's voided?
Yes.
And I just have one more question. How many members are on the KEDC right now that will be merging with Lee County?
How many members are on the KDC board?
Yeah.
16? 16?
Will all 16 be moving to the Lee County board?
No. No, the Lee County board will stay the Lee County board.
So right now, the members that are on both would be Carrie, Dave Bogner, Gary Seib as an ex officio to the LCEDG board. Kay Sackville is also an ex officio on both boards. Am I missing? Jenny Rose, but she's not on the KEDC board. She is yes,
She's on the
yes.
county. Yes. Yes, she's not on our board.
I would say that in the conversation of the balance between the different communities in Lee County, that I do have complete confidence in both Dennis and Emily that they would keep Keokuk's best interests in heart. I think the track record of LCEDG over the last decade does show that. And so I don't have any hesitation about or any fear of Keokuk missing out on something because of this proposed merger. So I'll sit back and wait to see how all the other details come together.
I'll piggyback onto that a little bit. I can't tell you how many times I've been in my office and Dennis calls me up and says, "Hey, what are you doing next Wednesday?" And I'll go, "Oh, no, nothing right now." And he says, "Well, I got some people, they want to look at some property. Can you go?" And I've gone, and we haven't hit on any of those, but as Dennis says, it's kind of, you work and eventually, at some point you're going to hit one. And I mean, Dennis always, and Emily will as well, but I am always in the loop of what's going on. Okay.
So, I mean, this. Mike Hickey, I live at 1211 Grand in Keokuk. I've been involved with Keokuk economic development for 30 or more years. Back when I first started, we had a executive director, Greg Andrews. I don't know if you remember him. Some things happened, but even before that, with Dick Lofton and Ag Brovan and those guys, they built Kindustry Park out there. They raised the money, they did it. It was a bold plan. It was moving forward, it was doing something different to make something happen. And that's how I view this, because I've been doing this for so long, and occasionally you catch a fish, but it's more luck than skill. We now have the opportunity to bring a more professional, full-time person into the Keokuk community to be thinking about this every day. Carrie spends a tremendous amount of time working on economic development stuff. We're fortunate he's doing that. He's not going to keep doing it. Will the next president, KEDC, be willing to take that on? I don't know. I wouldn't want to leave it up to chance. We have the, I just see it as a chance to really to do something different, to make a bold move. Net cost to the city is zero. We're going to spend $50,000 and get somebody being paid somewhere in the $70,000 to $80,000 plus benefits range. So we're getting somebody that's got some horsepower to them. Now, I understand the concern about Main Street, and it needs to be considered. I understand the concerns about the imbalance as we see it with the members of the Lee County Economic Development Board. I think that can be worked on too. I think those are problems. Those are, some people say problems are opportunities. I don't always say that, but sometimes I do. But they're not insolvable. But I'm just saying, we have an opportunity to make a bold move here. We have an opportunity to do something different, and we have an opportunity to get different results. And you would ask me about this 10 or 15 years ago, I would have said no way. But we've been stagnant for too long. It's time to change. Thanks.
Any more questions? Any more discussion? Then this meeting's adjourned.